Let's bring on Varun Sabu, Head Equities at Anand Rathi Shares and Stockbrokers, joining in with us. Varun, very good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining in with us. New year, new high, but what's leading today is the mid and small cap. The small cap side especially seeing a very good run up, Varun. What's the view coming in on the nifty small cap or any of the small cap names, anything that is looking interesting?
Hi, thanks again, Irina, for inviting us on the show. This is exactly about a week, 10 days back, I come on your show. And that time when we were speaking about small caps, you all had taken our view on how we are seeing it. People were concerned about the news around froth, etc., which was there. While we clearly mentioned that, the good part about our markets is that we track earnings growth. So I had given a view also that in next couple of years, by FY26, we are seeing at least a 35% odd earnings growth. If you go and see the consensus also, that is also building the same. And we were assigning about a 26, 27 times multiple, which is the middle of the range in which small cap index trades, right? So from 22 to 29x is the range in which they've been trading. Now, if you take both the things into account, we were seeing at least a 44% kind of upside on the small cap index. So there is nothing. We've just scratched the surface. We are extremely positive still on the small cap space. Clearly, markets are going to track earnings growth, and that will keep coming. Economy is doing exceptionally well. We are very, very hopeful on this front.
Varun, wondering what is it that you do with the realty names? I mean, just when you think that, the realty index is going to pause a bit, look at DLF, it's already up another 6% today too. You think, the bull market in this particular sector is here to stay?
Yes, absolutely. Again, the same thing. We spoke about this last time also when I was on your show. The same perspective we had that there is so much there's so much demand that we are seeing on the ground, and it is not anymore a situation where we are seeing oversupply, right? It's just that the stocks have done very well, sales are happening, etc. But it's not that we are seeing an oversupply situation. When does the real estate sector halt? When we are going to see on the ground supplies being much more, right? Which is not the case right now. In fact, it takes some years, so at least 2-3 years for it to really happen if real estate companies go extremely aggressive in building those kind of supplies, which is not the case right now. I think there was a downturn of about a decade, which we saw in real estate. It's been about 2-3 odd years or max 3.5, 4 years that we have seen some kind of sanity prevailing in this sector, and that's where the reactions in the stocks are coming. I mean, personally, our company, myself, we remain very bullish on real estate going forward as well. Till the time we don't see concerns around excess supply, we don't think there's any stopping to it.
But since we have discussed about a whole of these sectors already, let me actually talk about some of the big buzzers today with Kunal. Kunal, the defense pack is fairly active. Garden Reach reported its provisional data for FY24, and so did Hindustan Aeronautics. Both of these stocks, of course, are in the green on account of that. But even look at a Cochin Shipyard and other PSU names as well. Would you fathom a buy on any of these counters from here on?
Yeah, so I think, what was actually happening earlier was HAL and BEL were the ones which were strong performers, and they were the ones which did not consolidate for too long. And then you had the likes of GRSE, Garden Reach, Cochin Shipyard, Masscounter, etc. going into 3-month, 5-month, 6-month consolidations also. I think some of them have started to top out or, show signs of a top for themselves in the month of October, November 2023. And from there, these stocks have been going through a mean reversion process as well as a time-wise consolidation. Today, what has happened is that the likes of HAL, BEL, they are the ones which are still looking quite strong. But then you have Cochin Shipyard, which is one of the stronger ones, which has managed to make I think a fresh multi-month high for itself, breaking past about that 950 plus per year. So that indicates that now the rest of the pack from the defense names which are consolidating, they are making a very strong comeback. This, I believe, is a very strong sign that the sector trend would now start to get back into the shape. Because earlier it was just 2 stocks or 2-3 names out of the entire pack which were moving and showing signs of recovery as well as strength. But this time around, with breakouts from Cochin Shipyard and recovery from the other names, I think most of the other sectors, stocks from the sector, they could make a strong comeback. So from the other pack, Cochin Shipyard is something we will probably initiate a buy even at current levels.
Okay, at 9:57 as well. Cochin Shipyard is a buy. Naresh, would you say the same about some of the railway stocks? Because there too, the news flow continues a buzz. I mean, RVNL turned out to be the lowest bidder for one of the key projects as well, just over the weekend.
So would be cautious on railway stocks because the rally has been large and the correction was also deeper than one would expect in a strong bull market. So if you look at what sort of a correction came in power stocks, large PSUs, it was 10-12%. Out here, we've had a 30-40% correction. So this bounce back is a good time to actually reduce railway stocks. And railway, the only stock which still looks okay is Rights Limited, purely because it has underperformed the whole sector. So after this correction, Rights is the only place where we still have possible upsides. But on the other hand, there are PSU sectors which still look interesting. So something like a container corporation looks interesting. You still have NTPC, ONGC, and the whole gas OMC basket looks interesting. So I would avoid the railway sector as such.
Okay. Varun, let's just talk about some of these other sectors as well. And let's talk about pharma. What's the word coming in on pharma? Do you think there's still some interest? YTD, when you look at it, pharma has done a decent performance. Do you think that we could look at something in the pharma pack?
US pharma side, where we used to keep hearing about price erosions across the drugs which were being supplied there, that has changed. If you meet these companies, so we met about 7-8 companies a month back, and this was something which was a consensus there that now US, the dealers, distributors there, they don't talk about what kind of price cuts are you going to do. Their focus is on supply disruption should not be there. So they are okay till the time your supplies are going to be consistent. They're okay paying the price. So if for the next couple of years, 3 years, the view is that there's no price erosion which is going to happen, then any pharma company which has a higher exposure towards US pharma will start doing well. So I think names like Sun Pharma, Dr. Reddy's, Lupin, any of these would look very well. Even for that matter, a company like Granules looks well. So all of these are looking pretty attractive as well. I mean, despite the run-up which we've seen.
Coming in on some of the pharma names as well, but what about the exchange stocks? Take a look at CDSL. That stock is up 8%. BSE is actually perking up quite well for itself, and MCX as well. Of course, there was a positive brokerage note talking about how the average daily volume, of course, has actually gone up 10% month on month. So some of these stocks are in focus. Naresh, within this entire exchanges, and maybe we can add even an IEX to the list, would you still be a buyer in any of the names?
So BSE still looks the most interesting name because it went through a correction, sideways consolidation, 2 dips to 2000 levels, recovered back about 2600. So, and there were previous 2 tops around that area. So a breakout trade here, one could start off with a small allocation and buy it on dips. So BSE out of the whole pack looks interesting. IEX has been on radar. It has made too many false starts over the last 2 years. Every time the stock has gone above 150, 160, the stock has faltered. But out here, it's been making a base around that 130-135 mark. But I would wait it out, wait for it to sustain above 150 to again look at it.
Varun, I just wanted to understand, we've been discussing a whole host of pockets, but what is it that you think is the best way to cash in on this bull market and some of the market-linked stocks? I know the big one, that's the impending NSE IPO is what everyone's waiting for, but the options are quite a few there in terms of getting a market exposure via listed entities.
Right, I agree with you. I mean, if you have to talk about the holistic per se, what ideas are looking good, how we are seeing it. So we are looking at companies which are showing a good earnings growth trajectory in the near term itself, right? So by near term, I mean the next 6 to 12 months. We believe that two-wheelers as a theme has been doing very well. They have just come out of a downturn about an year back. This was a long downturn that two-wheelers were in. We are seeing that trajectory changing. So we are very bullish on two-wheelers, which we have been mentioning all throughout. Names like TVS, Hero Moto, all look very good to us. So these are great buys over here as well. Till the time that business strength is there, they'll do well. Secondly, we believe that with continuity, which we are seeing how it has been in terms of policies overall. We believe all these PSU themes should continue doing well, particularly when we see the power theme overall. Within that, the transmission companies should do very well. So that's another space we are very bullish on. Defense is another theme which we like. I mean, overall, wherever we see earnings trajectory for the next 1, 2, 3, 5 years to be good, is where our focus lies.
On actually first to an ET Now exclusive, we are learning from reliable sources that Oil Ministry is readying first 100 days agenda for new government, which is likely to be submitted to the Cabinet Secretariat by a month end. What is on the agenda? Prakash is joining in with us to give us more details.
Yes, we are learning from our sources that the Oil Ministry has just started working on first 100 days agenda of the new government, and various proposals are being taken into consideration. We are given to understand that the government is likely to announce an incentive scheme for natural gas pipeline connectivity in the country. Sources are informing that the companies would be given incentives to connect pipeline infrastructure from CBG plant to city gas distribution network, a very significant development coming in. We also given to understand that the government is likely to pay 50% of the overall project cost under this scheme, and these proposals would be sent to the Cabinet Secretariat by end of this month. Along with that, sources are also informing that the Oil Ministry is working on a fresh proposal to launch a PLI scheme for oil and gas sector, where incentives would be given on manufacturing of equipment being used in city gas distribution network, a very significant development coming in. In addition to that, we also given to understand that big reform in marketing and pipeline infrastructure being chalked out, where marketing and pipeline infrastructure would be developed for all kind of new energy sources that include green hydrogen, green ammonia, compressed biogas, among others. The existing pipeline infrastructure would be connected with the all new energy sources, and the proposals are being taken into consideration. We also given to understand that the PNGRB will be empowered to regulate all kind of pipeline infrastructure in the country that will connect all new energy sources. And therefore, a common carrier operator that would be known as a TSO being planned, and that will come under the purview of PNGRB, and the government is likely to hold majority stake in transport system operator or TSO.
Okay, Naresh, let's just talk about some of these other names that have been buzzing in trade, and thought on something like a Voltas that's been picking up pace a lot more. So anything on the charts that's looking interesting for Voltas?
So Voltas has been a strong performer in the sector, taking leadership after consolidating for a long period of time. So from 2021 tops of almost 1300, the stock fell down to 750, almost a 40-45% drop. And now after breaking about 950 has been a consistent mover. It's crossed the recent swing highs also. So the momentum is strong. Ideally, it could be a slowly and steadily a target price of 1300 going forward. Would be a buy on dips. The strength is there, the momentum is there, as well as volumes are good today. So a buy on dips and keep a stop loss below 1100.
On some of these names as well, but just taking stock of some more buzzers at this point of time. On the losing side, CG Power is down 5%. Sona BLW is coming under pressure. On the gaining side, Welspun Living is one counter which is coming up on the radar with a 40% gain. Textiles as a whole, what's the view coming in? Because overall, we have seen good amount of gains coming in. Fundamentally speaking, what's the latest that you can say on textile sector?
Are you asking me?
Sorry. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so textiles again has been under pressure for a while. Things are changing, so their margins had gone for a toss. There were a lot of pressure which these companies were seeing from the dumping which was happening from China. I think post some initiatives by the government, there is this dumping which will reduce. We are expecting things to reverse for these textile companies going forward. You should see a much better FY25 and 26 for them. These are great companies to own right now. Yeah.
chatter on what you're seeing within the textile space. The list of movers today really continues to be metals. Look at Indus Tower. That's the other one which is holding up a buzz about almost 8%. I think there was a brokerage upgrade as well coming in on Indus Tower. That stock surely has been on the run and holding out very well as well. Kunal, let's get a chart check going. Indus Tower has been quite the steady performer of late.
Yeah, very good performer. In fact, the stock was one of the few ones in the mid-cap space which did not buckle under pressure in the first week of March. That was the point when the stock was around 230, 250 odd range. And then, once the market got into a bottom formation and the mid-caps started to get into an outperforming zone, that's where I would believe Indus Tower managed to move up to the second leg of a breakout. Now, interestingly, the stock has not yet crossed about the previous major swing high. That I think is around 320, 325 for Indus Tower on the monthly charts. But I believe this recent momentum, the stock has shown signs of a breakout on the monthly basis. So I believe that the first target on the potential upside for the stock should be at 325 mark. And then on the upside, we could be looking at even 350 to 380 levels for the stock over the medium term. So extremely bullish on the stock in that prospect.
In fact, CLSA came out with a note maintaining its outperform rating on Indus Towers. They've, of course, upped the target price as well quite significantly to 335, which is already sort of closing in on from the earlier 265. They're saying that the derating is now reversing and that Indus is getting payments from Vodafone Idea's fundraising that could really propel and boost growth for Indus Towers. So that's one stock which is holding up a buzz. There's of course MCX, there's DLF. These are all names which are holding out well. The one pocket which is not doing all that well, although it's been a big mover all through the last fiscal, has been the two names. So look at Eicher Motors, look at Hero Motocorp. They are somewhat under pressure today. Varun, I don't know if you had the chance to look at the auto sales numbers which have trickled in. While tractors was, continues to be a weak link, which it already was for the past many months. But on the overall sales as well, not many of the majors have managed to even, match up to the street expectations, forget even beating that.
Yes, absolutely. So that was the expectation as well. That say for PVs, they wouldn't be doing too well. The reason is that if you compare it with the highs of 2019, if you compare four-wheelers had crossed that at the end of 2023 itself, right? So they're already running at a very, very large base. Why do I say I'm very bullish on two-wheelers? Is because the base which was hit in FY19 for two-wheelers, we're still a long way from it. So you still have a lot of scope for the peak to be achieved first, and then you will see growth over it, which has not happened in two-wheelers yet. Tractors has been under pressure because they had a great run before that for good 2-3 years, which we'd seen. So that there was a slowdown which we saw this year. Most corporate commentaries also we heard were not very bullish on the tractor sales, but I think in a couple of quarters from here, tractors should also start doing well. Because there is already a low base that you'll be running in after 2 quarters from here. So yeah, I think in terms of autos right now, if there's a clear-cut play, I think it is clearly two-wheelers, and others we should just wait it out on.
Amongst two-wheelers, what's looking like the strongest chart? Let's reiterate the opinion. Naresh?
Among two-wheelers, it is clearly Hero Motocorp, which looks interesting because it's gone through a consolidation phase for the last 2 months after that massive move from 3,000 levels to 4,900 odd. And in the last 3-4 days, it has tried to make a breakout move. Once it sustains over 4,800, it should get into a further breakout move. Dips to 4,600, still remain a buy with a stop loss below 4,450. Bajaj Auto could be topping out in the short term. It's made a 100% move after the breakout. And the last couple of times it has stalled. So for now, Hero Motocorp looks the best in the two-wheeler space.
It's PNB Housing now, which is locked in upper circuit, 20% higher there. Let's go across to Snehi to get an understanding as to what are the levers behind it and what's the implication of this ratings upgrade that the company has bagged. Snehi?
Well, yes, so the stock is up and away, buzzing away in today's trading session. That's PNB Housing for you. This is on the back of a positive coming in from Morgan Stanley. They've maintained an overweight rating with a target price of 970 rupees per stock, which is quite the upside compared to the stock's current market price. Now, a bunch of credit ratings have been trickling in for this stock. CARE and ICRA have both upgraded long-term rating to AA+. So Morgan Stanley sees this as a development as positive for growth and profitability for the company. It could further help improve the availability and the cost of borrowing for the company going ahead. So that's a key positive that Morgan Stanley is flagging off for this stock. They're saying that it will benefit loan spreads and loan growth over a period of time. And while the stock has underperformed in the past 2 months, likely due to profit taking amid the mid-cap sell-off, but Morgan Stanley is seeing this as a good entry point from a near and medium term perspective. So this is the positive note that's coming in from Morgan Stanley. What's also key to remember is that during the Q3 earnings season, the management had guided the credit cost and they have cut that lower for FY24 to FY26. They had guided 60 bips for FY24 and they trimmed it down to 31 to 32 bips. On the other hand, they had revised their retail loan guidance to roughly 15% for FY24 from the 17% given earlier and retained growth guidance of 17% for FY25. So on the back of a subdued Q3, now this note would make a very strong impact on the stock, like the stock price has been going up. And even when the management joined us during the Q3 numbers, they told us that they expect margins to be around 3.5% to 3.6% for the near term. And now Morgan Stanley is seeing some positivity here as well. So on the back of this note, the stock is up and away, doing pretty well in today's trading session.
For that, Snehi, surely keeping an eye out on PNB Housing, seeing a sharp up move today in trade. Nifty as of now holding on to 22,450 levels, around those levels. But Kunal, there's a stock that has been buzzing away in the last 6 months, and that is Century Textile. Today also trading at a 52-week high. What's the view on Century Textile? Is that something interesting that one could watch out for?
So it's a technical breakout. It's a price volume breakout for Century Textile. The stock coming out after 3 months of consolidation. So I think January was the month where the stock had entered into a topping out zone, 1590.95 approximately on the spot, and then closer to 1320 was the base or the low the stock had tested in the mid cap correction. So this was the 250-70 point range for Century Textile. The stock has, I think on Thursday, confirmed a breakout, a price volume breakout about that 1590 plus mark. So which means potentially we should be looking at least another 250 points on the upside. That takes the stock closer to 1850, 1870 levels. So I think from current levels, potentially over the next two weeks or so, we should be looking at a further 150 point up move for the stock.
Okay, that's the take coming in on Century Textiles. Bunch of other names which are buzzing in trade. Trent, Titan, of course, are taking a little bit of a pause. You're seeing Godrej Consumer as well, which is lagging. Besides that, there's LTIM, Tata Consumer, Nestle. Varun, you sense that FMCG will continue to be the weak link for the market?
See, it's been a long time that FMCG has done anything. We have seen these companies underperform for good 3 years plus, if I'm not wrong. Obviously, there will be somewhere where we'll start seeing the rural pickup happening, where every time we hear bites that there is something happening and it's not happening. But I would certainly think that these levels are of particularly, say, Hindustan Unilever, are where downsides are protected. I don't see any immediate triggers for upsides, honestly. So cannot really say it's a great buy right now, but don't see downsides from current levels. I think in pockets, some companies will do well, like you were just talking about Godrej Consumer, which has done well recently. I think their performance, so our analysts met them recently. We see a lot of promise for the next 2 years plus in terms of overall growth and earnings growth as well. So that is one company which one can keep in mind, which should do well going forward. So you have to choose your pockets in consumers, which are kind of doing okay right now, where there is a little bit of promise which is already visible, and where there is some bit of confusion where we are still waiting for clarity to emerge. We'll just wait it out.
Okay, there are many ideas available, so not the best time perhaps to look for those ideas which might not perform as such. But in the meantime, just taking a look at some of the other big buzzers, Adani Transmission has actually managed to perk up in the last few minutes. Let's pull up the intraday chart if there is a genuine action as far as the segment is concerned, and even Action Construction is the other one I wanted to talk about. Naresh, what's the view on Action Construction stock and any Adani companies that looks interesting on the charts?
So Action Construction has been in a one-way uptrend all through the last 1 year. So at current levels, it is still a hold only because the momentum is still strong. One could ride this by keeping a trailing stop loss, but at current levels cannot buy. So the sector is doing well. It is across the board. We've seen Sangvi movers also make a similar move, and all small cap companies as well. So would look at it as a stock to hold, but not a buy. Out of Adani Group names, Adani Ports looks interesting because that's been a strong stock. Again, a new all-time high today. So as of now, Adani Ports looks more interesting in the Adani Group.
Ports looks interesting, but in the meantime, let's take the BTSC trades from our chartists as well. Kunal, you go first.
So I'll go with Tycal's BEL, Bharat Electronic, as the first stock which I would suggest as a buy. Expecting the stock to make a fresh swing high for itself. So levels of 200, I've revised the targets to 218 now that the stock has moved up higher, and stop loss could be traded to 205. And Hindustan Copper is something which I've been bullish on. So continue to be bullish on the stock even at current levels of 302, 3 plus, targets of 340, stop loss at 285.
Right. Naresh, what about your strategies?
So first would be a buy on Jindal Steel, stock breaking out into new all-time high, stop loss at 860, target price of 890. Second is a buy on IRCTC, which is giving a short-term triangle breakout, stop loss at 960, target price of 990.
Okay. That's the take coming in on some of the buzzing ideas over there. But Varun, in terms of, fresh buy calls, what is it that you're working on or, looking out for?
There are some companies which we keep working on, particularly the small cap space. Some of them which I've recently met, I met one of these companies named Himadri Chemicals. They're looking pretty promising in terms of the business they're doing, etc. We are yet to formalize a view on it. So we don't have, I'm just giving a caveat, I don't have cover yet on it. But yeah, they look very promising. Business per se, doing a lot of things correctly. So that's one name which can be evaluated. There is another company, Pravaig, which was doing a lot of noise around when Ayodhya opening, etc. was happening. So that is another idea which is looking interesting in terms to do some work around. We are yet to have coverage on these two names. As you're asking me for newer ideas, I'm just mentioning about them where we are doing some work, which we are still evaluating. But yeah, I think if someone wants to do some work, can have a look at these.
Right, okay, Varun, great to have you on the show. We'll let you go on that note. And Kunal, Naresh, we'll see you again tomorrow. In fact, we are closing in off the day's highs, but it's been